falls asleep and he falls down 3 stories to his death.
Yes, sir.
And the people inside the church, the people that were just listening to the same sermon, the people he was just worshiping with, tell somebody, church folk. The church folk run to the window, look out the window and say, he dead. They didn't bother to see if he was breathing. They didn't go down and check his pulse. They immediately run down to the window and say, he dead. Isn't it funny how there are always people in your life ready and willing to pronounce you dead? They don't wait to see if you're going to whip. They don't wait to see if you're going to move. They don't wait to see if you're going to shake. You ain't even hit the ground yet, but they declare, he dead. Now, I know. Here in Baltimore, you don't know nobody like that. But believe it or not, there are some sick, twisted people that would get a kick out of seeing you fall. As a matter of fact, when you fall, there will always be somebody to say that they'll never make it back. They'll never come out of it. They'll never recover. They'll never bounce back. But is there anybody here this morning that can say, not only did I get up, God fixed me up. Not only did I bounce back, I'm actually better than I was before. Whenever you fall and bounce back, you find out how strong you really are. Tell your neighbor, I didn't realize how strong I was until I failed and bounced back. I didn't realize how tough I was until I failed and bounced back. I didn't realize I had faith like that until I failed and bounced back. Well, you have to touch yourself and say, self, you are stronger than you know. Stronger than you know. You're stronger than you know. There's a pastor in Texas by the name of Freddie Haynes. He has this little book. And the last chapter of the book is called Bounce Back. In the last chapter, he says, if you drop a plate, it will shatter. If you drop a bag of flour, it will lay flat. But if you drop a ball, it will bounce back. So the question is, what's the difference between why will one break, why will one lay flat, and the other bounce back? He goes on to say, it all depends on what it's made out of. Anybody in here this morning, they can say, I must be made out of some good stuff. Because after that last ball, I thought I was done. After that last ball, I thought I was through. After that last ball, I thought that was it. But I found out I wasn't made in America. I wasn't made in China. I was fearfully and wonderfully made by God. Whatever the Father made me out of, it made me bounce back. I got one point. All right. I'm making my way to it. The text says that Paul, that the church people run to the window, look out the windows and say, he dead. Paul stops preaching, immediately runs downstairs. But the church people, the people that were just worshiping with, they run to the window and say, he dead. But Paul stops preaching and immediately runs downstairs. So it seems like to me that Paul knows that the boy is still alive. So I'm trying to figure out, Curtis, what's the difference between Paul and the church folk? Because the church folk run to the window and say, he dead. Paul immediately starts preaching and runs downstairs. So I'm trying to figure out, Pastor Smith, what is the difference between the church folk and Paul? But just maybe, Trayvon, Paul had enough near-death experiences of his own to realize that when you got God, you can survive anything. Is there anybody here this morning that knows that when you got God, you can survive anything? That's a sermon all by itself. Because when you got God, you can slay giants. When you got God, you can survive a fiery furnace. When you got God, you can survive a lion's den. Is there anybody here this morning that knows that when you got God, you can survive anything? Perfect folk in your life. Sometimes you need some folk in your life that's been through some things. We all need some Pauls in our life. You don't always need the pastor. You don't always need the deacons. You don't always need the mothers of the church. Every now and then, you need an ex-thug. Every now and then, you need an ex-con. Every now and then, you need an ex-addict. Every now and then, you need an ex-alcoholic. Every now and then, you need somebody to say, baby, I've been there and done that. And if God wants me through, he can do the same thing for you. At one point, almost there. Text says, Paul immediately runs downstairs, checks on the boy, hoppers back upstairs. It's okay, there's still life in him. Church, every now and then, you need somebody in your life that's going to holler back on your behalf. I ain't got nothing against quiet folk. Quiet folk are fine. But every now and then, I want somebody in my life that's going to holler back on my behalf. They say he's no good, holler back for me. They say he's low down, holler back for me. They say he's sorry, holler back for me. They say he's done, holler back for me. They say he's dead, holler back for me. Tell them that if you holler for me, I'll holler for you. Now holler back at me. You got something to holler for, don't you? You woke up this morning, holler back. You in your right mind, holler back. You ain't get no meals, holler back. I got one point. I got one point, and here it is. I came all the way from Virginia just to give y'all this one point. Paul is preaching. Eutychus falls out the window. The church folks say he's dead. Paul immediately runs downstairs, picks him back up and brings him back upstairs. That's verse 11. The church folk rejoice not only because the boy is okay, not only because he's not dead, but also because he's not hurt. That's verse 12. When Paul runs downstairs, picks him back up and takes him back upstairs, that's verse 11. When they find out that the boy is not hurt, that's verse 12. So all this happens in chapter 20. So when Paul runs downstairs, picks him back up, brings him back upstairs, that's 2011. But when the church folks find out that he's not all right, that's 2012. That's 2012. Good evening, Baltimore. But can I tell somebody tonight that it's 2012 and you're still alive? It's 2012 and you're still here? It's 2012 and you're not hurt? Oh, you ought to bless God because you went through some things in 2011. You had some falls in 2011. You got hurt in 2011. Lost friends in 2011. Got hurt in 2011. Lost houses in 2011. But then you looked around and then you saw it was 2012. And what could have killed you couldn't even hurt you. What tried to hurt you couldn't even harm you. What made you bitter only made you better. Is there anybody here this morning with a 2012 praise? 2012 praise. Bless him because he saved you. Bless him because he raised you. Bless him for all the beautiful things he brought you in 2012. New relationships in 2012. New cars in 2012. New houses in 2012. New members in 2012. New people in 2012. New relationships in 2012. New money in 2012. But wait a minute, preacher. What if it's 2012 and I ain't got no money? What if it's 2012 and I ain't got no job? What if it's 2012 and I ain't got no car? What if it's 2012 and I'm still walking? You got breath, don't you? Let every man praise you, the Lord. Praise him because he raised you. Praise him because he saved you. Praise him because he helped you. Praise him because he keeps you. Listen, praise him for everything that he's done in your life. Don't worry about your non-praising neighbor. Sitting there looking like the chosen frozen.